Everybody ready? Good evening, everyone. It's 6:01 p.m. on this April 22nd, 2025. I hope everyone had a very happy Easter, and glad that you are all here this evening for the council committee meeting, because I'm presenting the budget, which is always fun and a little scary, but I'm excited to present it to you all tonight. But we're going to begin this meeting with the roll call, and Ms. Kittrell, please.
Vice Mayor Hayes is absent. Councilman Alexander.
Present.
Councilman Carter.
Present.
Councilman Fan.
Here.
Councilman Fennell.
Here.
Councilman Jones.
Here.
And Councilman Juvance. Mayor, we do have a quorum.
Thank you. I thank you all for being here. This evening, you have the minutes from the April 8th, 2025 council meeting for your consideration for approval.
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Councilman Jones, second by Councilman Juvance. Are there any corrections or additions requested? Oh, it was Alexander. I'm so sorry.
It was one of us. Yeah.
Second by Councilman Alexander, Ms. Kittrell. Any additions, corrections? All right, all in favor of approving the April 8, 2025 council committee meeting minutes, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The minutes are unanimously approved. We'll now move to public recognition. Because this is a committee meeting, or as I fondly call it, a work session, all public comment is at the beginning of the meeting. So if you have something that you'd like to speak to, whether it's on the agenda or not on the agenda, this would be your opportunity. We need your name and your address for the record, and you will have 5 minutes to speak. And with that, public recognition is now open.
My name is Sandra Kelly. I live at 103 Jones Street here in Gallatin. And I would like to speak about Project Phoenix. I don't know if you're aware, but I know you're aware. Some of us are a little apprehensive about the scope and what's all going to happen. So I just wanted to make you aware that I have put together a petition, and I wanted to read it just to get it on the record so you would be in the know about what's going on. And there was mention of a petition last week that maybe it would have helped at some point for another reason. But I want to read it to you. We, the residents of Gallatin, call upon our mayor and city council to ensure that the proposed Phoenix construction project is subject to the same level of transparency and detailed disclosure as private companies are required to provide to their investors. Specifically, we request that the following information be made publicly available for this and any proposed public construction project. We want detailed project plans, comprehensive descriptions of the project, scope, design, and timeline, cost estimates and a budget breakdown, transparent accounting of all projected costs, including material, labors, and contingencies, funding sources, clear identification of all funding streams, including taxpayer contributions, grants, or loans, clear disclosure to the public of any consideration of granting a pilot or TIF, risk assessments, analysis of potential risks, delays, or cost overruns with mitigation strategies, environmental and community impact reports, studies detailing the project's effects on local ecosystems, traffic, local downtown businesses, and residents' quality of life, contractor and vendor information, disclosure of all parties involved, including selection and contract terms. Public projects are funded by taxpayers, and we deserve the same rigor and accountability and information sharing that private companies provide to their investors. Transparent disclosure fosters trust, ensures the responsible stewardship of public funds, and empowers communities to engage meaningfully in decisions that affect us all. A project of this magnitude and cost needs to be put on a referendum for the public to vote on. We instruct our elected representatives to adopt these standards immediately and commit to full transparency for the Phoenix and all future public construction projects. And I will be posting this online under Preserve Gallatin, and it's open to be signed as of right now, and I'm hoping for some help. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak this evening under public recognition, now would be your opportunity. Okay. Seeing no one, public recognition is closed. I'll proceed with mayor's comments. A couple of things coming up. The Well Summit is at the station tomorrow. I understand it is a sold-out event. I think both Ms. Bates and I are speaking tomorrow morning. Looking forward to that, excited that they're doing that. On the 24th is the Sumner County Youth Job and Opportunity Fair. That happens at Gallatin High School from 11:30 to 3:30 p.m. Good Morning Gallatin happens at the station this Friday. That's with EMA and EMS from 7:30 until 9 a.m. This weekend, the big weekend, Square Fest. The weather has been not the greatest projection, but hopefully it will turn our way. And I know that they've worked really, really hard on creating a great event this weekend. So that happens from 10 until 5, and it will be all kinds of excitement downtown. The Antique and Classic Car Show will be at the Civic Center in the upper parking lot. That happens from 4 to 8. There is a wrestling event on the 27th, FXE Wrestling. Doors open at 3:30 p.m. Blood Drive at the Civic Center Meeting Rooms 101 and 102, 11 to 4 on the 28th. And then Mr. Tuttle's birthday comes up on the 30th of April. And then on Pedal for Paws bike ride happening at the Civic Center on 7 a.m. on the 3rd of May. We do have a couple of spaces if there's anyone interested in riding up here. Anybody want to ride in it, just let us know. We'll make it happen. The Breakfast of the American Legion happens on the 3rd, and then the Downtown Wi-Fi and Kiosk Launch Party is scheduled for the hopefully lucky 3rd time. And then I think that is as far as I will go this evening. Well, let me think. We don't have a meeting next week, so let me see if there's anything else. I don't think there's anything. On the 9th is the City of Gallatin Employee Picnic, and the National Firefighters Memorial Day is on the 4th of May. So I think that pretty much covers us with upcoming events, and with that, we will move on to the regular agenda. And the first item on the regular agenda is a request by developers related to the Target project on Greenlee, and to introduce that is Executive Director of Economic Development, Ms. Rosemary Bates.
Hey, everybody. Recently, developers of the Target project contacted my office, and then we had a meeting, and then I consulted with other department heads. There were questions about certain costs and requirements. I could answer some of their questions, but I certainly could not make any decisions related to waiving them or cost. They wanted to come and speak to you tonight and share information with you, so I am going to turn it over to a representative from the development, if that's okay with you. Mr. McGuffin? And then, right? Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
We're asking procedural questions.
Oh, okay. And just your name and address, and then you have it.
Yeah, Mike McGuffin. I live in Nashville. And this is Hunter Harrison. We're both with CHM Development, and we are doing a joint development with Anderson and L.A. Green on their property. Hunter's handing out, well, let me just first say, on the agenda, there's an anchor tenant name, and I'm going to refer to it as the anchor tenant. I'm not going to say their name, just because I don't want to be on public record naming it, because they typically like to keep quiet until they acquire the property. So when I say anchor tenant, that's who I'm referencing, if you'll look on the agenda for tonight. So I kind of want to go over this project and then talk how we kind of got where we are. We started this process about 2.5 years ago. Came and met with the landowners and started the process on behalf of this anchor tenant. And through that period of time, in that 2.5 years, we've done all the environmental reports, we've done all the geotechnical reports, we've done wetland studies, we've done jurisdictional studies, we've done hydrology studies, we've done reports for TDEC, for the Army Corps of Engineer. We've done rezoning the property. We've done traffic studies. I mean, we've gone through all the exercise of getting this to where it is, and we are now at an impasse. We're at a point where in that period of time and the challenges of the site, and we'll go through some of the cost here in just a minute, but we're at a point now where the anchor tenant has come back to us and the costs of the project exceed what they're willing to pay in this market. And so we're asking and hope you will consider helping try to get this project over the goal line. We're very close, but you'll see when we go through the numbers where things have gotten a little bit out of whack as we've gone through the due diligence of this process, gone through the pricing, and have fully priced and bid this out to contractors. So our numbers are concrete, and we know what they are now. And so that's the challenge that we have, is that we're looking for a little bit of assistance on this one. So let me start with your packet that I've given you there. And one of the things that this is going to illustrate, Hunter, I'm going to get you to come up here and just kind of, if you don't mind, holding that up a little bit. But you're going to see several of the things that kind of were asked of us that have kind of gone above and beyond on a typical development project. You'll see, I tell you what, if you'll keep flipping through the cost estimates, not the second page, I'm sorry, but the third page, you'll see a breakdown of a summary of cost. And so we had to do a greenway. This is what was requested of us, and this is what's in our civil plans, and this is what's is in for permitting right now. There is a greenway that's basically almost $200,000 that was asked of us to add on to that. You will see it on your illustration in the booklet there. It's kind of an orange pathway, if you can see that. I've highlighted it in orange. Along with that greenway is a fence that's required. We got some slopes, and just for safety reasons, a fence is going to be required. That's another $35,000. There's a sidewalk that's been requested that we put along the greenway, which is identified in blue on your plan, and that's another $80,000. We're having to put a traffic signal on Greenlee Boulevard at the main entrance there. That's estimated at about $500,000. And then we've done some decel lanes and some things like that. That's basically $170,000. So close to $1 million just of some things, not that they're out of the ordinary, but some are that are, obviously adding to the cost of this project. And just some other things that we're having to do. This Greenlee Boulevard interchange equity share fee, that's another $100,000 that's been asked of us. Electrical service, and if you'll see, this one's a little bit harder to see on your illustration in your packet. But there's a red marker. We were bringing the electrical service off of 31 around the backside. Our engineers designed it this way. We were bringing the electrical service to handle all the shops, and the anchor tenant was along the backside. After we submitted to the city, it came back. The city is now requesting, and the outparcels were going to be coming off of Greenlee. The city is now asking us to do a loop system that goes all the way around the property, and it's adding another $300,000 and some thousand, $335,000 roughly to the project cost. So those are some things that are being requested of us that have driven the price of this project up. In addition to that, it's a very challenging site, right? It's got creeks, it's got wetlands, it's got TVA transmission lines, it's got rock, substantial. So all these things, as I've kind of summarized some of these things that are causing this to be a little bit escalated, these are the things that are the challenges of the site that are causing us to be in a position where we've priced all this to the anchor tenant, and they have come back and said, look, it exceeds what we can pay in this market on the projected sales they're expecting to do in this market. So those are some of the cost summaries there. And so what I try to do is let's see what this investment looks like. We're going to be making this to the community, and I want you to see what your return on investment would be. And the first illustration is a property tax analysis, and it's just me going through this exercise of showing you, hey, here's what the current property taxes are. Here's what, when we get it up, the valuation of it, and when property taxes kick in, it's somewhere around $70,000 annually that would be coming to the city, that would be generated in property tax. And again, hopefully this is in perpetuity, right? And then I've walked through a little exercise about what sales tax this project is going to generate. And we take basically the average sales that these tenants are doing in the southeast. We've projected that out. The tax rate is 2.75% that comes back to the city and split between the city and the county. The city of Gallatin actually collects 1.625% of that. So on $72 million worth of gross sales, the city ought to expect a little over $1.1 million, close to $1.2 million annually in sales tax revenue. So that's a substantial amount. And so what we're requesting, in consideration, if you look to the next page, there's an infrastructure investment recapture timeline. And what we're proposing is this. Instead of doing a TIF or doing a pilot or public assistance, and we've done this in several other cities, and it's worked very well. It's called an infrastructure agreement. And it would be a legal agreement between the two, between us as the developer, and then the city council would be a party to it as well, the city. Is that once we are up and operational, once we've done all this infrastructure work, once we've built the shopping center, once all the tenants are up and paying rent and paying sales tax and property tax, we would look for the city to contribute to help us offset this investment that we've made. And so while we far exceed this amount, we're asking for $1.25 million from the city. And this is how we would expect it to be paid back. So if you take that investment and you forecast out the amount of sales tax receipts on a monthly basis, roughly in the 13th, between the 13th and the 14th month, that ought to pay off that full $1,250,000 investment. And so let me just say, in the last 8 projects that we've done in the state of Tennessee that have been over 100,000 square feet, all 8 have had to require some sort of public assistance or investment. It's just the way that all these projects are. The cost of the construction, the site work, fuel prices, all these things are all contributing. And now we're even, with tariffs the contractors are telling us that, we may even see more price increases. So again, we're at that point where we would like to ask and hope you will consider helping us get this thing over the goal line, because we are not there yet. We're close. Just to give you a little update on the project, we were moving along, and then we finally got all the pricing back, and we hit this little snag. And then since then, we've been asked to do an archaeological study. So we kind of are shut down for 90 to 120 days doing an archaeological study for the Corps of Engineers. And we hope nothing is found, but we don't know at this point. So we were hopefully going to start this summer on this project and open in October of 2026. It's now pushing out into 2027, either a March, July, or an October, depending on how long this archaeological study takes and what the outcome of that study is. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Tom Trent, who does consulting for the city, has worked with us before on other cities. For this same retailer in 2 other markets, we did a very similar thing to help get over the hump. And what it does is we take all the risk. We take all the risk that they're going to open, that everything's going to go just fine. We take all the construction risk. All we ask is this: when it's up and operational and all these revenue streams are coming in for the city, that there's a share to help us pay that money back. And it can be spread over a period of time. It doesn't have to be all in 1 year. It can be over a 2-year period, even potentially a 3-year period of time, if it would be easier for the city to do it that way. So I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Councilman Fennell.
Do we have an idea of the potential, how many employees do you think that we could get out of this project?
The anchor tenant states that they have about 200, and then by the time everything else in the project, we ought to be in excess of 300 total employees.
Well, you got your anchor tenant, we hope, but do we have any other people willing to come that might fill up the rest of the?
Yes, we're working on leases on all of the balance of the shopping center. We've got another junior anchor that's 16,000 feet, and then we've got all kinds of out-parcel users, restaurants that are very interested, and they've already submitted, either letters of intents or contracts with us. It's in demand, I will say that. It definitely is it's a high-profile project.
What is the likelihood, I'm sorry, what is the likelihood that the archaeology study could shut this project down?
Which I knew the answer to that question.
Okay.
Let me say that one has previously been done, and not a lot was identified. So I think we'll find the exact same thing, but we never know. That was a long time ago, and things have changed. So, but we have no idea at this point.
On these sales tax projections, is that Target's projections or is that yours?
That is their average sales that they do per store in the Southeast. So they could do better, could do a little bit worse, but that's a number that is well publicized.
What you're asking for, is it based upon all being built out or just the anchor tenant?
Know everything.
Okay.
The project would be completely done and open at that point.
Councilman Chivons.
Thank you, Mayor. So basically, you're asking us for a loan where you will reimburse us with the revenue we should have on sales tax to kind of simplify the.
Now,
It's not a
they're going
loan.
to do it up front, but they're asking us to pay them back once they are open in that first 14 months or whatever, which I would never want any. I mean, I have a lot of struggles with this. I don't mean to interrupt, but I think it'll help. It's difficult when we've had, retailers come in here and just do all the things on their own, and they're not as big a company. This is a big revenue generator for the city, and so that helps make it more compelling, but I would certainly never want us to pledge to you in excess of what actually comes in. You've got projected here, but until you have, i.e., you're projecting what, 100 and...
Well, I just did it as an illustration. Now, but the amount would be fixed, right? Because that's just going to pure infrastructure offset.
But you're projecting 72,989, wait.
98,840.
You're basically the 1186 divided over 12 months is where you come up with, or 14 months is where you come up with.
I wanted to show you.
98,000.
It's a pretty quick investment. It's a pretty good return on your investment that it pays off in 14 months.
Well, I think it would, I think that should be adjusted for whatever time frame if you go this direction on actual sales tax revenue, i.e., you basically get it returned up to a certain amount. I would prefer that you consider some kind of scenario whereby we do actually have an increase starting at build out, and if you elect to do this, you pay back over a longer period of time so that you do have, some increase in your revenue budget, but it's up to you guys.
Question to Susan, can we do that with taxpayer money?
I haven't been involved in this to this point, so I can't fully answer that, but I think if they've worked with Tom Trent, who I know, I definitely would want to talk with Tom, and I'd want to talk with the other cities that have done something similar.
We just did this one in the city of Cookeville for this retailer, same retailer. Tom represented the city of Cookeville. He has all the documents. I can supply them to you, but we worked through the same thing, and within 30, 45 days, we had it approved and through their council. And it's going to work great. Again, all the risk is on us, right? If something were to happen and the project didn't open or whatever, the city would never owe those dollars.
Not much different from a TIF, except that you're using sales tax, and they are funding the upfront dollars versus the city.
Yeah, but on a,
We're never getting any of the sales tax. We don't collect any of the sales tax.
No,
I'm just showing you this is going to generate the sales tax, and then this would be, if you looked at how you would get a return on that investment based on just the sales tax, that's what it would take 14 months to base.
To start, I'm going to say I want to do something because I know you, contrary to some stuff we got before, you're going to actually bring jobs and money, but when you say you're going to add sales tax, you're going to add some, but not probably, we're going to lose somewhere. Because if I go buy in your store what I was going to buy at Publix before, Publix not going to make, it's kind of transfers of taxes. So that's the first thing. Where I agree with you is that when I look at your map, I think a trail in middle of a place like that, I don't see why. I agree with you. I think that's. I never seen a trail in middle of a. If I go, I drive down the airport twice a week. I pass near Opryland. I haven't seen a trail there. So I think the trail, I would give you that.
What, I'm sorry, you keep saying
I think it's about the green.
The Greenway.
The Greenway.
trail, okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, I'm sorry, I was thinking, what is tread?
Let me say two things. One, and I don't disagree that it may be taking sales away from others, but how many people are leaving this community now and going to the neighboring community to go to that anchor tenant?
I think that's where
Right,
a lot
that's
of the revenue.
leakage,
will
right?
be
That's leakage.
generated.
That's dollars leaving your community.
We'll gladly take
You
Hendersonville's.
want to capture that here. So
No, like I said, I'm
Yeah.
not against you. I'm trying to figure a way to do it. But I'm always, you're basically going to pay the city back with money you would have make somewhere. So,
We're paying them back, they're not paying, we're not fronting it, we're
we're going to pay you back with,
relieving some of their investment.
Yeah.
I guess is a better
again,
way.
we never see the sales tax. We don't have anything to do with it. I'm just trying to give you an example of what it's going to generate and how y'all are going to be collecting it. We're just asking for a payment over a period of time. Let me also say, I've got it given a breakdown in here of the cost. If the city would like to pick up the traffic signal, for example, you have a traffic department, you can do the install and take that off of our expense. That would be another way to reduce it by that $500,000. So we could do it that way too and reduce the amount of the payment if the city wanted to pick up that item of cost.
I think our concern is going to remain what kind of can of worms this potentially opens when everybody comes down the pike wanting.
that was my next point. We're
So
going to.
I think, you really have to encapsulate it as, this is a revenue producer like we've not seen come to our community in probably 25 years, or no, longer than that, 35. When did that last one on 31 come to Gallatin?
Let me ask you, let me say this, that, and I understand your struggles. I mean, first shot out of the gun's always a tough one. You need to put some sort of minimums on these things. This is not a convenience store. This is not a three unit retail deal. This is a major investment. It's a major revenue creator. Everything out there sold if we wanted to in the morning, because they've got those leases and letters of intent. And there's 3 more major boxes lined up wanting to get out there. And they're not here now, so it's no cannibalization of sales of anybody in town. It's ain't like Walmart coming in. These guys, this is all new retail. And City of Gallatin, the people in this city want these retailers here. Y'all got.
I think everybody's going to agree with you on that.
Ma'am?
I think everybody's going to agree with you on that
Yeah,
one.
and we need to figure a way to get it here. I mean, and this thing's just gotten out of hand. It's, like I say, you've not had development like this since COVID. Everything changed at COVID. Everything went up. And we just need to look at it that way and consider how we can get this deal done together. We're not asking you for anything free. Somebody said, how you going to explain it? This is kind of what I said. I'd go in and I'd say, I need advance on my check next week. That's what it amounts to. And I'm going to pay you back the next week. And that's basically what this is. We're not asking for anything free. You're going to get your money. You're going to get all of it. And you're going
Yeah.
to see what you are what you're putting your money towards. It's going to be up and operating.
But I think the struggle here is to justify it and, help other people who are investing in commercial that we so desperately want here, why it's different.
I think what LA is saying is, put some guardrails on it or put
Yeah.
some minimum requirements. You have to generate more than 100 jobs or 150 jobs, or it has to be a minimum investment of 50 million or something like that. There's a way to do it that it helps these projects come to your community, but it doesn't mean everybody comes with a handout.
Also,
You need. Somebody said, well, why should I do this for you? You're not doing it for me. You're doing it for the city of Gallatin. You're doing it for the people. that
I
are
also
down those
think that
roads.
your sales tax revenue is a little low. I think it's going,
I think the first year that.
I think it's going to generate a lot more.
I can't gauge that one, so I'm trusting your numbers.
Well, I'm pulling from an index that has the average. And some of those are old stores that are small stores, right? So you're probably right, but I'd better be conservative than.
Did you say a deal like this has already been crafted and is in operational in
Mentioned, yeah,
Cookeville?
he mentioned Cookeville, but
Yeah.
are there any other Tennessee locales?
That have an infrastructure agreement like this. Tom would know better than me, but really, Clarksville, Lebanon, all these communities are doing this to get these projects.
I would also, I think it would be helpful to see other projects that are doing this that are commercial, that we could, find some. I just texted the mayor of Hendersonville and asked them if they did it for Costco or back when for Sam's. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just always kind of been the thing that we've been, we've come to the place where Gallatin is very attractive to locate and people are very successful. And there was a time when taxpayers invested to get some of those amenities here. And I think now we attract amenities based on what's here. The way that you're posing it, however, does basically just delay our revenue stream. And so it's not as difficult to contemplate. But I do really worry how all these other people that are making all the same kinds of investment, not the same kind, not as large of, certainly, but,
You don't want to become the SBA.
right.
You got bankers, and then you got a bank, and then you got SBA. You don't be the SBA. You establish your guidelines. Like he said, it has to be a major investment. It has to create, who knows, 200, 100, 300 jobs, whatever it is. But if you don't, they will wear you out.
I'd be curious to know of the jobs, like how many of those are, I don't know how to phrase it, head of household type incomes, managers and assistant
Management
managers.
level, yeah.
Those kinds of things versus.
I can try to find that out.
Versus, part-time work, young workers who are working for the lowest wages. I
Sure.
think that makes a difference as
Yeah.
we contemplate as well.
Well, and don't forget, it adds to the quality of life to this community, right? And it
Absolutely.
attracts other industry that wants to come in here.
Yeah,
I mean,
every
that's a big
30 to
part
40
of
30 to
industry
40
recruitment.
Every 30 to 40-year-old I know is, look so excited about it, and they spend the money, so.
I think we don't disagree with you on that. I think we have to be really careful of not creating a precedent who's going to bite us after. And honestly, I can't make a decision now because I want to do my homework. I want to, because there is a number, you're saying the electrical services went from the system you wanted to a different. So I want to talk to the director of Gallatin Electric to see why they did that. There's probably a reason. And there is maybe a way to go around that or not. So I don't want to make a decision tonight. I'll make a motion to defer to the next
Work session.
work session, but we don't have one next week.
When's the quickest
After
one
it's
you
going to be a council or work.
Puts it off 2 weeks.
Now, it's longer than that because of the fifth week, so it'd be the 13th would be. 13th is the next work session.
I understand about putting guardrails on it. It makes a lot of sense, but times are changing a little bit. Maybe we're going to have to change some ways that we think. That I don't know. But I do see that property right there, and that anchor coming to that area is spurring more people to come to that area also. I mean, there's no telling what will come behind it. My thing is the jobs that it creates and the revenue. So if there's a way that we can work this out, I'm all for that. Maybe it's a little premature right now in these discussions, and we need to look for another work session with a little bit more answers,
Yeah,
or something more to us.
I make a motion to move it to the next work session, so that gives us time to look into it.
There again, too, and I'm with you on that, I just don't want to push this thing or kick this can down the road so far that we're going to lose our anchor.
Next council meeting is on the 8th. Have an extra week where in various parties, y'all and us could gather information. I'm
We'd be
sorry,
happy at the
6th,
next work
sorry.
study session, so we can
Yeah.
answer questions and.
If
back
you-
and
We'll
forth.
come back.
I would like to do what Paige said, is maybe look around at some of the other anchors right there and another nearby city and see what type of jobs are out there, how many management versus, younger type jobs or starter jobs.
And I think the, main wage earner jobs are important, but I just think the thing that is so atypical here is that we've never incentivized commercial retail, and we need to find other communities where we can say they did this, they realized, because I do not doubt that we would realize a return on the investment. It's just how do you keep it from being a can of worms?
Set a policy.
Set of policy.
Susan mentions Tom Trent, he knows them all, and I, Susan's a,
Could you
ask a question.
Could you check with Target and see if they have a number on the impact it'll have on the economy while construction's going on? Because there's going to be a lot of people coming in and out, and I'm sure they have an idea of what that would be. And it would also generate revenue for local businesses that are already here.
Hotels,
Plus what they
restaurants,
purchase while
subs.
they're here is going to be sales tax revenue.
Right,
Good point.
I'm sorry, go
No,
ahead.
I was just saying, good point.
I can't really remember, but how many other rentable units will you have on this property that you're going to start out with when Target comes?
7, did you say?
How much square footage wise?
No. How many other tenant suites
Oh, I don't know.
that
what
we got projected with this first
you think,
build?
Hunter? What, I mean,
Just,
Potentially another 10 or more stall shops in addition to the junior acre.
well, so if this launch is pretty good, you still have plenty of property that you can add some more things in there
this is just
later.
what we consider phase 1.
Okay, all
And we
right.
hope this leads to phase 2.
How long did you say your archaeological staff gonna last? Your archaeological research?
Archaeological survey.
How long?
Yeah.
We're probably 60 days away from getting
All
a
right, so-
summary, and then it has to go out and get reviewed by, it's.
Yeah,
Is that already going on?
Yes, sir.
All right, so you got a 60-day-ish
Yeah, you have
wait
time.
right now, right?
Correct.
So, yeah, I think,
But we're not gonna wait that long to get a commitment from the.
Okay, yeah, I get
We
that.
stand in.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
no, no,
I
no,
feel
no.
like
We want that report to come out and hit the ground running.
Gotcha.
It's-
an archaeology survey, if there is an issue, has a remedy.
Yep. And this was done back in 2008 when Target was here before, and it didn't turn up beans. So,
I have a
Well,
motion.
do we have a motion?
He has a
Yeah,
motion
I
to
have a
defer
motion.
it to the 13th,
Second.
which is a work session.
I'll second,
Did you say second, Councilman Carter? Fennell, you did? You
Councilman
seconded it? Okay. So a motion and a second to defer to, not defer, but to put it on the next work session in essence, so.
We'll come back.
Is that fine if I just say to put it on the next
Yeah,
work session?
yeah.
Okay. All right, all in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, well unanimously,
Thank you all. We appreciate
be
your time.
back on the
Thank you.
agenda for May 13th.
Thank y'all.
I tell you what, I'm about a food truck if you ever run it while they're building this.
Okay, item number 2 is ordinance 02504-26, an ordinance appropriating $500,000 for the Hell Avenue Extension Project. Jake Wilson is here for Mr. Tuttle.
Good evening, council. Want to say something real quick for this ordinance. It says Hell Avenue Extension. This is actually the Sumner County Veterans Home Drainage Project that we received ARPA funds for in conjunction with Sumner County. A few years back, they received a large block grant of about $12 million, and one of the projects that was identified was addressing some of the drainage needs around the veterans' home. Last December, we struck a memorandum of understanding with the county, and they sent those funds to the city. So this ordinance is moving those funds from, I believe, our general fund, Rachel, to the specific engineering fund required to pay out design and contractors.
Yeah, and this is, because the money has to be spent by the end of next year. No, the end of,
So the
Please.
money has to be spent by September 30th of 2026.
Yeah.
And we have
And-
until the end of the year to do all of the closeout documentation.
and so this goes in conjunction with our South Water Improvement Project, but they, with this opportunity, move that plan ahead that will create a connector to, what is that road, the back road? Is it Woods Ferry? Okay, Woods Ferry, and put in storm infrastructure that will benefit the veterans' home.
Yes, by expediting the Hell Avenue extension right there to Woods Ferry, that allows us to take out the existing Woods Ferry location behind the veterans' home and expand the detention pond that's currently there.
And also create a more perpendicular access to South Water, which I think will be beneficial.
It'll line those roads up better and make it a safer intersection.
Motion to send to council.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Juvant, second by Councilman Carter. Are there any more questions or discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Juvant.
I've been following that because, that was one of my first year project, and we had everything set up to be done, and that money came on. So I want to make sure the timeline is there. That means that project need to be finished before September 30th, 2026.
Yes, that's correct.
Finished.
Yes, that is correct.
So we'll get one more winter where we're gonna have to put sandbag around the veterans home, and hopefully after that, nothing's gonna be flooded back there.
It will be designed and implemented by September 30th of next year.
Good. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Further questions, discussion? It's ordinance 02504-26. All in favor of moving forward to council, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes on unanimously. Item 3, ordinance 02504-27. It's appropriating $135,000 to repave West Eastland Street. And Mr. Wilson, you can explain this one.
Good evening again, council. This ordinance is repaving West Eastland Street. Over the winter, we had some utility work that came through. GPU did water, sewer, and gas upgrades along this major thoroughfare in the city. And normally, Eastland would not qualify for our typical paving list. And I'll get into the paving list on the next ordinance, but it would not have qualified. But because of the sheer amount of patches that were done, we feel that letting it sit there and be able to deteriorate faster because we have more joints, we have a lesser quality asphalt because it's in just a small patch, it can't act as a whole system, that it is in our best interest to go ahead and repave this from the railroad tracks all the way up to Red River Road. GPU has worked with us graciously to say that they will front half of the money, and then we will have the other half. That will allow us to cold plane, profile mill all of West Eastland, and then freshly top it as well.
Motion to send it on to council.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Carter, second by Councilman Fan. Councilman Juvant, did you want something?
No, I'm good. I was thinking something.
Anybody questions or discussion?
Jake, they'll grind that down, all those patches and all that before they pave.
Yes, they'll go a full 1.5 inches, and we will come back with 1.5 inches of topping.
All in favor of moving forward ordinance 02504-27, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Moves forward unanimously. And then finally, Mr. Wilson, the 2025-26 paving list.
All right. Good evening again, council. This is the third time and the last time I'll talk to you tonight. But this is the 2025-2026 paving list. I'm excited about this because back when we were doing our CIP forecasting, I worked with Nick and our paving project manager, Caleb Utley, to identify what we would need going forward to account for the expansion of our city, the rapid growth, what we need to stay on a good paving cycle. Eventually, that number will probably need to be about 2 million, but we said, let's do small steps, and we are proposing a $1.5 million paving list this year, and the mayor has included that in her budget. So we get a sizable increase from $1.3 million to $1.5 million this year, and I am very ecstatic to go out and get started paving on that. Just so you know, kind of the process that we do to create this list, we have a software that is equipped in our city fleet vehicles called RMT. It has sensors on the vehicles that will detect essentially how bumpy the road is, and it gives us a pavement score, and from that we can identify the streets that need this the most. That does not replace our engineering judgment or our intuition or our concerns that everyone has on the state of the roads, but it does give us a very good starting point. So we went onto the software, we found the roads that needed dire attention, and from there we were able to build out the rest of the list, working with what could be topped, what could be, what had to be milled and repaved, and also we have some preservation technology in there that we are working with right now to try and extend the life of what we have existing, especially in the areas that have the curb and gutter cross sections that we need to mill every time, because we can't just top over that or else it would cause drainage issues. So this is the list this year. I do want to say that I believe there will be another reading for this list before it's fully implemented, but that's not for another couple of weeks. So please look over this list, and if you have any comments or concerns or questions, please feel free to contact me, and I would love to walk you through what our process was, what we saw when we rode the streets after viewing the technology, and how we fully compiled the list that you see.
Yeah, if you think there's something missed, or if you think something here it doesn't need repaving, let's let engineering know. And this is their recommended paving list at this point. There's no action needed, but it's there for you to review and contemplate and offer feedback.
Motion sent to council.
Don't need to send it to council. There's no action needed. This is just your recommendation. And they'll. Huh?
Yes,
Yeah, it's part of the budget, so.
send it anyway.
Well, okay, you really want to, you can.
That's what he said.
I mean, I guess you can. Don't have a resolution, but
Thank you, sir.
You're
I
doing
like
a
the
good job.
enthusiasm.
Good job.
thank you, Mr. Wilson. All right, I know the moment you all have been waiting for. Well, I just got to pass along a couple of things, and Rachel's going to do the same with the department heads.
Just so you know, Jake is my classmate.
Oh. Pass those.
Went to
Take
school.
one and pass along.
Classmate, 2009 from Gallatin.
Same with these, Steve. Steve. This is the last thing. Lots of paper tonight. All right.
But you budget in for payment.
You want to read through the schedule? Is there another one for Connie? This right here?
She got one down.
Oh,
I don't know on the display. You will do it? Okay, Ms. Landstrom, thank you.
Just for this, which we had an additional meeting just for.
Okay, so, going to begin with the budget presentation. I'll walk you through, it's really a broad overview budget presentation at this point. It does have a glimpse at what we're looking at with the pay plan. I'm going to ask Ms. Jimmy to go through it more in depth in the weeks ahead as we have the opportunity to meet with all the department heads, let them see where their people are placed and make sure that they are okay with where they are. And so this budget is based upon that pay plan, and I think as we go through it, you will understand better what we're looking at, what the impacts are, what the numbers are, all those kinds of good things. So I want to, let's see, come on, there we go. I want to start with a smile because it's a happy day that we have a proposed budget for, every day's a happy day, for 2025-26. I certainly want to thank that lady standing up right there. We all are blessed with an outstanding finance director with lots of institutional knowledge, good conservative projecting and forecasting, and just a very, very diligent worker in all things finance. So thank you, Ms. Nichols. And then I also would thank Ms. Jimmy for her work on doing the pay comparisons that we built this based upon. So I'll move forward and talk to you a little bit about revenue on the front end, just to kind of remind you what we're doing with our sales tax, how it's grown over the years. From 2021, we were bringing in 11.7. In 24, it was 16,397. To date, well, not to date, but through January of 25, we're at 9.9. So we're on track to maintain that kind of revenue increase. A couple of impacts that I wanted to mention to you all. Obviously, inflation, the pay study, pay plan recommendation that's forthcoming, the sales tax increase that was voted upon by the residents of Gallatin, and the census. Now, I do have bad news related to the census. It is going to be certified. We had very, very low error rates, but the state legislature has passed legislation that will direct the Department of Economic Development to certify populations based on a study done by the Boyd Center each year prior to July 1. We will get our money this coming year, but in the years moving forward, we will actually receive a reduction in revenue, because basically all that money will be redistributed across all the cities who didn't do a special census. And so we really wind up neutral in it, and it stinks. And so I have asked of the legislators to look at a way to try and make whole those cities that did embark on special censuses, since we were following the state law in doing so, and now it's having a negative impact. This year budget, it won't fit, it goes into effect, like I said, in 26, but next year it will. Want to mention that I continue to think about or try and figure out a path where we can recoup our credit card expenses. Our total credit card expenses across all funds are about $256,000. It's broken down just a wee bit for you. And then we talk about the sales tax revenue. Shows you, I actually should put this with that other graph. I move things around a lot. So this is looking at what the local option has brought in the past several years, and then what our state shared is, and then what our total sales tax is. And so that total that you're looking at this point for 2025 is only through January, just as a reminder. The property tax revenue, again, the growth that is shown over the years, not from increasing our tax rate, although I know that a lot of people were impacted like none of us anticipated they would, and I can explain to you all, I don't even know if I've said this publicly, but what happened with the reappraisals this year, and it was really a surprise to me, is that your moderate homes appreciated in value far more than your very expensive homes, luxury homes, we'll go with luxury homes. And so what happened is there are luxury homes who didn't appreciate as much, so they're paying significantly less in taxes, while all of us in modest homes are paying more. And that was not the intention by setting a property neutral rate. And I have had conversations with people about how to write that, because I don't see a place where that makes sense. I think there needs to be some kind of formula for appraisals where you balance out finishes, location, square footage, and the comparables. Because when you're talking luxury homes, there's far fewer comps, and all it takes is one or two to sell way under market to skew that. Whereas when you're talking moderate priced homes, there's many, many, many selling, and you can get a comp that's going to cause that increase. So enough about that. Moving on, every year we always talk about, 1 cent on the property tax rate brings in X amount of dollars. I remember back when it was under $100,000. At this point, it brings in $295, $160, almost $3. And of course, that's an estimate pending the Sumner County Assessor Report for '26. When we talk about the fund balance details, it's going to be shown to you. Our surplus from our audit last year was $64,938,346. Carryover projects that we added in was almost $6.6 million. The mid-year appropriations that we did where we, added things to the budget was a little over 3.7. The rainy day for 2026 is 14.7. And then the reserve funds that we have set aside, which we have increased that this year to $27,958.1. So that would leave us with a projected total, basically non-restricted balance of $11,986,315. Talk a little bit about the pay plan. You do have a copy of the structure. And to let you know where we compared, the comparisons were made with Lebanon, Hendersonville, Mount Juliet, Spring Hill, Portland, the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, Bowling Green, Kentucky, Brentwood, and then AWWA and APGA for utilities, the American Water Wastewater Association, that should say association, and American Public Gas Association. Oh, wait, those are just spelled out what those initials are. Wow, I just now figured that out. That's what you get when you copy and paste. And then there was some private sector comparison as well. So in this pay plan that we are proposing, I am proposing, looking at a 5-step plan. Our step system has been all over the place just in the time I have been here, and then for many, many years predating that. Mr. Kellogg actually said today in the department head meeting that when he came here, it was 3 steps. And so what we have done this year is proposed a 5-step plan. Everybody's been market adjusted. Then we added 50 cents to those people who still fall within the 5 steps. The philosophy, if you will, is that it shouldn't take more than 5 years to become fully proficient in your role. And after that, then you should be able to have somewhere to go based on how well you perform. And so that 5-step plan, if you're in that 5 steps, we've already added an additional 50 cents to maintain the market competitiveness based on what was already programmed. And then those people will get a 2.5 annual step. In my scenario, I believe that people could move through the steps more quickly. That does require some changes to our rules, but if you guys think like that too, we can do that. Now, the step, I can remember some of the changes where people would be so upset because they were topped out of the plan. But what we're creating in this scenario is everybody's topped out of the plan after just 5 years. And I really believe that that's where you should be given more attention, the people that have some tenure and longevity with the city, and that if someone continues to perform for a long period of time, whether it's 13 years or 11 years or 3 years or 5 years, whenever they're out of the steps, then if that increase is merited, then they should be able to get an increase. And so the way that I would like to do it, and this is to try and get us towards more of a merit system, is I would say, okay, first of all, there's the average increases is budgeted. That would then be provided to, based on, their employees and what their wages are in their department, to the department head, and then the department head would allocate based on merit and or cost of living. We also have the option where we could do cost of living separately. You all know that my stress always related to the percentage cost of living is that 1% on a lower wage employee does not buy the same amount of bread that 1% does on a higher wage employee. And that's why I have been going with the dollar amounts. I also think, and this is a hard adjustment for a lot of people, that we have to recognize that a lot of our taxpayers are working in jobs where they may not be getting COLAs, they may not get annual increases, they may get very small annual increases. I had someone come to me today and say, they work for the state, and occasionally they would get 1% increase, period. But I think we've tried really hard. There's been lean years, and COVID was a weird period of time too, but there's been lean years where we couldn't do as much as we would like to for the employees, but I think for the last several years we've done really well, and I think this year what we're proposing is really good too. The stress that some of the department heads are fearing, I don't really think is necessary, and I think we can work through that moving forward as they better understand how that can benefit their department. Because there's a scenario in which you can take that, whatever you're allocated, and help use it to retain somebody that you may really fear losing, and then keep somebody that's already making a really good wage where they are, if you think that's what makes the most sense for your department. So in this, future funding should always strive to exceed the standard 2.5%, because that's the only way it remains fair to other employees. And what I've proposed this year for those out of the steps is a dollar increase to the wages, consider that the COLA, and then a 3% total budget increase, not per person, but average. And then the department heads have that discretion. This is a decision y'all need to make if you think that this is a good idea, or if you don't, or if there's some way that you think it can be better refined. I am well open to it. But I have always wanted us to get more in the merit game, because I think matters. Most of our taxpayers live in that world, and I think it can benefit good employees, and I think it can help not the best employees find different employment if that's the right thing. Wait, I've lost my clicker because I talked so long right there. I did want to just highlight some benefits, because I think sometimes we all lose sight of this. We do provide longevity pay. The total impact for that annually is $432,325. I never remember how that's allocated based on people's longevity, but after a certain period of time, you get some additional longevity pay every single year, which is nice. We fully cover the health, vision, and dental for employees. In recent years, we have provided more than the federal average of holidays, because we do the day after Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve. And then our TCRS 401k or hybrid, which there aren't probably a lot of people still just in the 401k. There's probably more people that have chosen to go the hybrid. I really don't know. But the total impact of that the city spends on that is almost $3.5 million. So those are benefits in excess of what the actual, compensation for pay is. This kind of shows you the salary and benefits from 2010 to 2026. And so you can look at how the trend has gone, went up, came down, and then has gone up every year since. For you to have, a picture to look at to understand where we're going. Our pay plan recommendation has an impact to this year's budget of almost $2 million, which actually exceeds what we have done in recent years. And now I'm going to move to the total budget discussion. This year we had departmental requests, $92,354,000. I am presenting a budget of $67,203,000. That has a rainy day fund of $14,707,000, almost $708,000, and then leaving us with another reserve, which I showed you how that was programmed earlier, of almost $40 million. The revenue versus expenditures, we're actually, because we are proposing a bond issuance and putting a lot of capital in that, we actually balance our capital and operating expenditures with our revenue to the good of $8,000 whole dollars. Moving on to just kind of show you what our departmental funding is you have, each department over there on the right, you may see it better on your PowerPoint than on the screen, has a color. And it shows that pretty much the departments have all increased their funding over the period of years. Talking about water and sewer, and then I'm going to talk through some elements in the budget, particularly for the new council members. Water and sewer, just to show you what they are budgeting, is revenue at 26.6, expense at 27, almost 8. Gas with revenue of 27,900,000 almost, with an expense of 26,630,000. Stormwater revenue of a little over 2 million with expense of 2,180,000. Environmental with a revenue of 4,630,000 and expenses of 4.3. This is the general obligation bond that we are proposing. What I pulled out of the budget and put in this is Fire Hall 1 with 17.5, a fire truck for 1.2, signals for 500,000, tennis courts, and I would substitute parks there if you wish, for 700,000, sidewalks phase 2, 716, and then roads almost 6. And then I put a question mark because what we're looking at, and this is, debt always feels so hard. But I remember when I first came in and I was thinking, I'm not going to issue any debt. And then I was kind of learned the perspective that with debt is how you spread it over the users of a project. And debt helps you outrun inflation, if you will. It certainly has, if you look back historically, and I suspect that it will moving forward. Of course, there's no proof in that. So the estimated cost, if we were to do a $30 million bond issuance, and I showed you the things that I think need to go in there based on this budget, but you may have other thoughts. And now is the time to do this, and we should go ahead and issue a $30 million bond, or you say, no, I think we should reduce it down and cut these things out and wait on them, whatever it may be. That's what we can discuss as we go forward. So that would then put our new principal at 50,625, an interest balance of 12 million. I do want to, like I said, get into the budget just a little bit. Go ahead and show you this because in 2025 we had an approved budget of just over 59 million. It was amended with carryovers and additions throughout the year. So that our budget became almost 79 million. And so this year's budget proposal is 67.2. It's a 14% increase compared to budget. It's a 15% decrease from the amended budget. The total city budget with utilities and general fund is 124,288,277. You see how the revenue and capital and operating expenses are there. Before I get into the new positions and the reclass requests, I do just want to talk a little bit about this sheet that you have that is the comprehensive budget. And really, what you're going to see in this comprehensive budget is a lot of little cuts. Some larger cuts, certainly, but mostly it's small cuts to get us where we need to be. Now, department heads have not gone through their individual budgets, and I'm sure that there's going to be somewhere where I've cut something that they'll be like, no, you can't cut this, but, you could cut this. And so we always have a little bit of that, typically, not a lot, but I certainly want you to know that that opportunity exists, and the department heads do know that. So for those of you who may need some refreshing on this, let's go past the page 1, 3, go to page 5, and let's go to page 5, go down to, city recorder's office. That's a small, see the black line that says city recorder, the second black line going down? Yes. Okay, so city recorder. When you look at those first several lines, salaries, overtime, longevity, FICA, health and dental, retirement, life, disability, those are all of your employee expenses. When you get past that, then you kind of get into the operational expenses. And then when you get to the 900 line, that's where you get into the capital expenses. So when you look at this, you're going to see at the top the 2026 request and the 2026 mayor's appropriation. And so that's how you can compare what was requested versus what was budgeted. Now, not really true when you're looking at salaries and stuff, because that's kind of automatically programmed based on what they're requesting. And so with the pay increase, that changes some of those numbers. Probably not for the ones where they didn't get new positions filled, but that was just based on either the number of employees they had, where they were in the steps, and what their new positions may or may not be. Insurances are estimated about a 10% increase this year. I do think that the tort reform did not pass, and so therefore we are hopeful that some of those things will be reduced as far as our projected premium increases. So hopefully they won't be as painful as they were when they were first sent to us for budgeting purposes. Do y'all have any questions about going through this budget and being able to read it and see where the changes are and be able to have conversations with department heads when you look at their budget and say, oh, I see what you're saying, you know? I'm flipping over to page 11. I'm looking down at government buildings. Look down at, item 941. There's a request for transportation equipment, and you will see on the mayor's appropriation, it is budgeted. I'm trying to find one where something's not budgeted. But you will also see, like, if you move up in the lines, some of the numbers were reduced. Like, you look up at the gas oil line, that'd be 331. They asked for 4,000, it was reduced to 3,500 based on what they've been spending. The uniforms, I tried to be what I thought was a little more consistent across departments based on uniforms, whether it's people just wearing the brand and looking good, or people that actually need it because they're working in the field. Police department, that comes next. There is some numbers in there that you can see. And remember, department heads, when y'all look at these, not for police department, but in some of the other departments, some of that was pulled out and proposed for the bond issuance. So that's still provided for. It's just not included in this budget when you look at the budget spread. Is there anything that I can help you all with related to actually looking at the budget, the line items? Do you all have any recommendations based on sitting through the hearings that I should offer for interpretation purposes? No. As far as reading it? Okay. All right. So with that, and you guys are all welcome to call me. I'll sit down with you. I'll talk through things and help you, kind of understand and know my whys behind some things if you so desire. So the new position reclass request for 2.858,427, almost $3 million. The positions requested, you will see, came from codes, engineering, finance, fire, GPU, HR, leisure services, police, and public works for a total impact of 2557. Yeah, 2557. And then the reclassification request came from codes, engineering, finance, HR, leisure services, police, and public works. Impact of $100,535. The ones that I've included in this budget, not nearly all the requests. I've really had some exposure recently to some of the staffing in the cities, or not necessarily around us, but cities of comparable sizes, and I've been surprised and really don't know how they function with some of their number of people. They tend to be really high, say it's a population comparable to ours. They tend to have plenty of public safety, but their development services, their administrative services are kind of lean. And I think we would all agree that public safety is going to come first, and following that following that philosophy, what I have proposed in this is 6 firefighters, the GPU positions as requested as an enterprise fund. There is, both HR and Public Works requested basically a part-time receptionist, switchboard operator, assistant, however you want to look at it. I would like to see if that one person that's already working temporary at Public Works would be interested in having one full-time position, but we haven't discussed that yet. But that would be, I think, a great way to solve that issue, where they worked key hours here and then worked at Public Works for key hours for them, because I think we could work that out well. And then for police, the request was for 10. I programmed 5 in here. And then service technician at Public Works, vehicle service technician. So those are programmed in on the reclassification side. We have 2 that are just job title changes, maybe some job description a little bit in there. But then there was another one that gives Public Works the opportunity to move a mechanic to a facilities maintenance mechanic 3. I think if you talk to departments across the city, our vehicle maintenance folks are doing a tremendous job, and that gives Richard more ability over there. So to sum this up, basically, you got some title and job description changes. There's the facility maintenance manager, 2 to 3, 6 firefighters, 5 police officers, hopefully receptions for Public Works and Human Resources in one position, the vehicle maintenance service tech, and the GPU positions as requested. So the request was almost 2.9. The recommended is a little over 1.7. I'll move now into community enhancement grant requests. These always get a lot of interest, but the requests this year were for 446.6. And you will see in this sheet in your PowerPoint presentation what these various organizations received prior year, what was requested of them this year, and what the committee chose to budget for them this year. Now, that second one that you see up there, they're not a 501c3. They do a great event in this community, and we believe that there's an opportunity to support that through tourism dollars. So it wasn't. I want you to know what that is, why they made a request, and it was not recommended. Beyond that, we did another one that you may be interested in hearing about. It's the Gallatin Daycare 1 and 2. Remember, it's always been Gallatin Daycare 1. And I think the committee contemplated, because of the amount of money that we have used to support the new daycare to this point, that in the what I had done, or what we had done years ago to try and balance out the 2 daycares that asked for support from the city, is we kind of came up with a per pupil, or a per I don't know if you call them pupil, a per child dollar amount, so that we could be fair to both daycares that pretty much do the same thing. In this instance, it's a little bit different because we do have a new daycare coming online, and Gallatin Child Care, and we did, they had traditionally been getting, I think, $10,000. They did not request any money last year. The reason they did not request it was because their audit was not done, because their accountant was not able to execute it in time, and so they knew that they could not they could not be awarded it without an audit. And so they asked for, at my suggestion, double that amount, and the committee is going to fund 1.5 times that amount. And so I still think that will be helpful and fair. You see how the others go in there. Hats in the past did not receive funding. When you look at their comprehensive budget, it looks like they get a whole lot of money, but when they actually discussed it with us and we understood what they were looking for local dollars, it made good sense. All good organizations. I don't want anybody to think they're not. And then I'm trying to see. Second Harvest Food Bank, they were a first-time ask from us, and they're doing some specific backpack things. Stars also, we have chosen not to fund in the past because they show like they have a really big budget, but then what they can do locally with local dollars is different than what their, big dollar budgets can do, and so we did fund them to some degree. You can see down through that. TSBDC, that's the Tennessee Small Business Development Center. They do provide great services for new businesses, actually for new and existing businesses at Volunteer State Community College. They have received money from the city in the past. They hadn't requested in a few years. They requested $10,000. We budgeted $3,500. And so essentially the total ask was that 446.6. We budgeted 307.7. There was one number. Sumner County Health Department, they don't come to that because we are contractually required to fund them to that degree. So that's the number that we have programmed in this budget. Just another reminder that our total budget requests were over $92 million. The budget is presented, $67,200,000. The rainy day fund, which remember we make that 25% of operational expenses, really good practice. It used to be 20%, and it goes up or down proportional to what your operating budget is. And then we have additional reserve of $39,944,415. Remember I talked about the dedicated reserve earlier in the presentation. That dedicated reserve, we did increase some substantially because we know that there's a potential land purchase on the horizon. Plus, we have lots of other things that we have to pay for. So just to go ahead and dedicate those funds so that we don't think that they're just money that don't have any programming. I don't want us to think about any money as money we don't have programmed, so we may as well spend. But that is held aside. It's about $28 million, right under $28 million. So with that is the budget presentation this year. Happy to take any questions, happy to discuss it more as we move forward through the approval process, whatever the will of this body is.
Our rainy day fund is at 14 million, and that is where we got to operate for 60 or 90 days to get a certain rating.
Well, it's good government responsibility, and a lot of cities don't do it. So
What was our rainy day fund last year? Close to the same?
I can't remember. It would have been probably a little bit less. Do we increase as we amend the budget? Okay, so it would have been a little bit less because that budget was, what, 59 million or whatever, so it would have been a little bit less. But to me, the really impressive number is the other reserve. So, the really hard thing in this is not everybody getting everything that they want. That's always painful and difficult, but, and I know that, there's some department head sitting down there that feels really slighted, and I don't mean for it to be that way. I'm just trying to balance the dollars we have coming in, taxpayer expectations for service, prioritizing public safety, and us all being responsible fiscal stewards. So.
You just throw it at me now, so you know me anytime. I can't think that quick. So you will have my question the next time it's brought to us.
I would like, if you all would consider it, moving forward the budget so that we can get it in the approval process, so that we can consider it on first reading when we come back together. Then we could put it on the next work session after that if you wanted to, and then we could put it.
Second.
And then we could, we need to get it approved. We've always been very good at getting it approved early, and I'd like to continue that trend.
2 readings?
2 readings. 2 readings on that, 3 readings on the tax rate. So getting it to you all now gives us some room, and I looked back, and actually last year I think I presented it because of how the calendar fell this exact week, but a day earlier, or a day, I guess it would be a day earlier. Yeah. Oh, it was 23rd. So I feel good that we're on track, because it certainly felt like I was, well, like, oh my goodness. But then there've been other years where we've had it completely passed by May 1st, then we've had other years where it got presented in May. So I think we're on the better side of that, and I honestly think that puts out a really good budget. The debt is hard to think about, still, compared to governments our size and how much debt that looks at. And I mean, and I'm going to tell y'all, think in terms too, that would not be all, because if we were to go down the road, say with the Project Phoenix, but you would not go down the road without with the Project Phoenix without doing most of what was said earlier this evening by our speaker.
All right,
Huh?
ready to vote.
Okay, all right. Well, please let me help you, or if you don't want to talk to me, reach out to Ms. Nichols or Ms. Kenjimmy, and certainly, I'm sure you will hear from some department heads, but also know that I will work with department heads too if they think something else makes better sense. Motion and second to move forward to council. With that, I'd ask all in favor to say aye.
Aye.
Opposed to say no. Moves forward to council. Thank y'all. Ooh, I was so nervous, and now I'm not so nervous. So, but we will have that on the next work session. So that's going to conclude the regular agenda. It's going to bring us to other business. So at that point, I would ask this body what other business they had to bring forward before we move to department heads.
I have something.
Councilman Carter.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just wanted to give a brief recap about my trip that I took to Alabama with Together Sumner for their pilgrimage. So thank you again to the council for approving for me to go to that trip. And this is something that I highly recommend all of us to attend anytime they have another trip coming up. And also all other cities and municipalities in Sumner County and Sumner County leaders. It was truly eye-opening. One of my favorite things about this trip was being able to be on the bus with small children. So I think we had people from elementary age boys and girls to men and women that were in their 70s and retired. And we heard real life accounts and experiences from just about everybody in that age range. So there were kids in elementary, middle, and high school that gave accounts of their experiences, as well as people in their 60s and 70s. So I thought that was really wonderful. And I'm going to highlight a few of our stops. So our first stop was to 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham. It was formerly pastored by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This church is significant because on September 15th, 1963, there was a bombing there that claimed the lives of 4 little girls that attended the church, and we were able to hear someone read the eulogy that was given by Dr. King at the memorial service for those young ladies. And then this church also served as a central meeting spot during the civil rights movement for activists such as Dr. King, Ralph Abernathy, and Fred Shuttlesworth. The next stop was to Tuskegee, Alabama, and we were able to meet and be greeted by several of their local elected officials, including their mayor, Lawrence Haywood, their county commission chairman, Lewis Maxwell. Let's see who else. Commissioners Miles Robinson Sr., Edward Huffman, and Jan Fountain, who was elected in 2022 and became the first African-American female to serve on their county commission. And then we also received greetings from former mayor and state representative who serves as the council member for the city of Tuskegee, Johnny Ford. And my favorite stop was going to the Tuskegee Human and Civil Rights Multicultural Center. We heard from Dr. Fred Gray. He's 94 years old. He is an attorney or a former state representative and a civil rights activist. So he was one of the first African-American state legislators to serve in the state of Alabama and the first African-American to serve as a president of the Alabama State Bar. But he handled a bunch of prominent cases during the civil rights era, such as Lee versus Macon, that did away with segregation in all public and secondary schools in Alabama, and then Browder versus Gale that prohibited segregation on public transportation. He also served, and most people, you hear about civil rights activists and leaders like Miss Rosa Parks and Dr. King, but you never hear about their legal counsel. So he was the legal counsel for them. And when I tell you, he is probably the smartest and most brilliant person I've ever met in my life. This man at 94 years old could recall events that happened 50 and 60 years ago, like almost to the time that it happened. He was also the legal counsel to the men in Tuskegee that were affected by the syphilis study, which led to compensation for those families and an apology from the United States government. So again, I just wanted to thank the council, give a recap about that so that everybody knows why it was so important. And just, I think that what Together Sumner is doing is a wonderful thing for any and everybody to get involved with, because we all have to be a part of the change to make Gallatin better, to make Sumner County better, and to make Tennessee better. And it takes people that look like me, as well as people that looks like Mayor Brown, as well as people that look like Councilman Juvant, and
Let's say speak like him.
as well as my commissioner, Ms. Boyd. So it takes all of us doing a part and being a part of the changes that we want to see to make our city, our state, our county a better place.
Let me ask you this. You know what put Tuskegee on the map?
The Tuskegee Airmen, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
World War II.
We actually went to
I've
the
been there.
museum as well.
I've been there.
Hey, Councilman Carter, that was quite a recap.
Yeah.
It was,
A lot of-
part of it gave me goosebumps, just your description of it.
So I want you guys to know that I have already talked to the powers that be with that organization, and we're going to look at putting together a special pilgrimage for elected officials. So I'm going to be asking all of you guys to go, and everybody from any city in Sumner County, department heads, and county leaders as well.
And you also had the opportunity in the last couple of days to present to the NAACP with Clearview update.
Oh, yes.
So that was exciting.
So last night, I was able to give an update about Clearview Park to the Sumner County branch of the NAACP, as well as today to serve on a panel to recap events and things and feelings from the pilgrimage.
Thank you, Councilman Carter. Anyone else? Seeing no one, department heads, is there any business that you all would like to bring forward? This meeting has gone far quicker than I thought it might. So with that,
Motion adjourned.
motion by Councilman Fennell, second by Councilman Carter. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ladies and gentlemen, have a lovely evening. Thank you for your time and attention to business in the city.
It was
and
really nice.
I hope you do something nice for somebody this week.
I'll be in the church.